Hey, welcome to today's video. The subject we're looking at today is, can you use the DMCA for trademark infringement claims? I'm Rick Chapo. I'm with DMCAagentservice.com, and we provide third-party agents to website and app owners who are looking to comply with the DMCA without exposing their personal information online. So trademark infringement claims, can you fit them into the DMCA compliance process? We're talking about intellectual property here, and there are different types. There are three that are commonly known: patent, trademark, and copyrights. Now, those three categories all deal with different things. They are not really bleeding over into each other, although it can happen occasionally, but not too often. And so typically when you have a law that is addressed to one of them, it does not apply to the other two. So for instance, patent law, it would be near impossible to take a copyright claim and somehow process it through patent law. And that's kind of the situation we have here. The DMCA is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. There's no mention of trademarks, and you cannot process a trademark infringement claim or prosecute one through the DMCA. You just can't. It's apples and oranges. Now, is there a federal equivalent of the DMCA for trademarks? And unfortunately, there is not. Why? I don't know. I'm sure it's a fascinating story, but in 1998, when the DMCA was signed into law by President Clinton, for some reason, the federal government didn't also include trademarks or create a separate similar law for trademarks. So what do? Well, you go back to the traditional approach, which is to send out a cease and desist letter for trademark infringement claims. Now, I strongly suggest you don't wing that. You want to do that with a trademark attorney because the language that's used in that letter can have ramifications on your rights. It can also result in potentially possibly getting sued. So you want to be very careful. Trademark infringement area of law is complex at the best of times, and there are a lot of odd little rules. And so you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing. So what about temptation? Maybe you don't want to hire an attorney. You don't want to deal with the traditional trademark infringement situations. So you try to dress up your trademark infringement claim as something that looks more like a copyright claim. And then you start submitting DMCA takedown notices to the host of the offending website, maybe to Google and Bing and Yahoo, to try to get that site removed from the search engines and what have you. You really don't want to go in that direction. The cases that we've seen that have popped up that describe that kind of a scenario, it's not gone well for the trademark owner. And the reason is your efforts are essentially an abuse of the DMCA process. And there's a section of the DMCA known as 512F that says those who abuse the process can be held liable. So in that situation, the defendant can turn around and sue you for abusing the DMCA. And if they do that, you are in a heap of trouble, because how are you going to explain using the DMCA for a trademark, which is wholly inappropriate? And what we have seen in rulings from the courts is that the courts are very unhappy with parties who try to do that. They show you no mercy, none whatsoever. And so you really don't want to be in that position, because quite frankly, if the complaint is filed against you, it's time to break out the checkbook and start writing zeros so that you can settle that case. We've even seen it in a couple of unique cases. There was one that involved CrossFit. CrossFit is the exercise company. They are very aggressive in protecting what they perceive as their intellectual property, their reputation, pretty much anything that has to do with their company. And that's fine. They have absolute right to do that as long as they don't cross certain lines. And in this case in New York, it was alleged that they had misused the DMCA process to go after a website that was using the word CrossFit in the domain. So it was CrossFit.wordpress.com or something of that sort. I believe it was a free service that they were using. Nonetheless, that is a trademark infringement claim. It is not a copyright claim. And once the matter apparently got to court, the defendant either consulted with an attorney or hired an attorney who realized as much and brought an effort to turn around and file to sue CrossFit, and the judge allowed it. And so CrossFit was in a bad situation. They were because how are you going to defend that? It's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and you've submitted a trademark claim. So it's not entirely clear what happened with the case. It definitely ended without a trial, from what we can tell. So maybe it was settled, or who knows. But ultimately, it didn't turn out well, or certainly not in the way that CrossFit probably imagined originally. So, can you use DMCA for trademark infringement claims? The answer is no, don't. It's just not something you want to do. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in DMCA and copyright topics, please consider subscribing to this channel. We post a ton of videos on those topics, and so hopefully some will prove educational for you. So again, thanks for watching. Have yourself a good one.